Once on Soviet territory, there began a second long and arduous journey to the frontline units. The overall record for the Soviet Union from all three supply lines was a grand total of 16 million tons of supplies transported in 2,600 sailings from ports around the North Atlantic at the Western Pacific Rim. Scarcely less demanding were the routes for supplying Lend Lease to nationalist China. Although China was included as one of the initial states qualifying for aid, the priority accorded Chinese supply was very low compared with supplies for Britain and the Soviet Union. Many of these resources lay idle, first piled up on the docks and rail lines at Rangoon, then, after the Japanese invasion of Burma, at ports along the northeast Indian coastline, awaiting delivery on a limited transport network. Chinese aid could be sent across the Pacific until Pearl Harbor, but after that had to be routed across the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. Once it arrived, there were profound geographical handicaps in getting the aid to the Chinese armies through some of the most inhospitable topography in the world, with inadequate roads and no effective railway. The effort in 1941 to construct a rail link from Lashio in northern Burma to Kunming in southern Yunnan province suffered from grim working conditions for around 100,000 Chinese and Burmese laborers, thousands of whom succumbed to malaria or typhoid, while an estimated half smoked opium to cope with their ordeal. When the Burmese routes were lost, the only remaining prospect was to fly the supplies from bases in India across the Himalayas to Kunming. This route, popularly dubbed the Hump, was perilous in the extreme. Freezing temperatures at over 6,000 meters across the mountains, spectacular thunderstorms, strong winds that pushed up fuel use and forced emergency landings, and just two primitive landing strips in China made of crushed stone. At least 700 aircraft and 1,200 crew were lost over the course of the airlift. Until 1943, shortages of facilities, aircraft, and crews kept the flow of supplies to a trickle. From 1943, the airlift expanded, but it was impossible to fly in heavy equipment, or vehicles, or machinery. By 1944, half of all supplies sent by sea were still awaiting shipment to China. Most of the supplies that did get through were allocated to American forces in China, chiefly Chennault's 14th Air Force. Chinese officials calculated that 98% was used by the Americans, but even if this figure is too high, Stilwell, as Chiang's American chief of staff, saw to it that he could control the flow of Lend Lease aid to suit American purposes.